There's one rule that keeps Peter Parker alive. Nobody can know who he is. The second someone does, his Aunt May, his girlfriend, everyone he loves becomes a target. And yet Marvel has spent 60 years ripping that mask off. Sometimes a villain figures it out. Sometimes the whole planet finds out on live TV. And one time a literal demon had to wipe it from every mind on Earth just to fix it. You think the secret holds. It never holds. And it started with one man, the Green Goblin. Because before anyone else, there was Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. Back in 1966, Amazing Spider-Man issue 39, he does something no villain had ever pulled off. He gets tired of guessing and decides to cheat. He hits Spider-Man with a gas that shuts off his spider sense, the early warning system that makes Peter impossible to follow. And then he just follows him home. Watches him peel off the mask, realizes the kid swinging around New York is best friends with his own son, Harry. Then the Goblin ties him up in steel cable and, out of pure ego, rips off his own mask too. Take a good long look, Parker. The first supervillain to ever learn Spider-Man's identity also handed Peter his own. And here's why this one matters more than any reveal on this list. Norman didn't just get a name, he got a weapon. Years later, he uses it to do the single worst thing that ever happens to Peter, throwing Gwen Stacy off a bridge. The exposure wasn't the punishment, it was the setup for the punishment. Peter got lucky for a while when a head injury wiped Norman's memory of the whole thing. Comic book head injuries, man, they fix everything and nothing. But it crept back. It always creeps back. That's the comics, though. The movies took the exact same idea and made it gentle. The Train, Spider-Man 2, because Sam Raimi did this completely differently, and honestly, it might be the most beautiful version ever filmed. Spider-Man 2, The Runaway Train. Doc Ock smashes the brakes and rockets a packed New York train toward a dead drop. Peter's mask is half burned off already, so he just takes it the rest of the way because saving 100 people beats keeping his secret right now. He stops the train with his bare body and passes out from the effort, and the passengers, dozens of them, carry his limp body back inside. They see his face. They see he's just a kid, and every single one of them quietly agrees they won't tell a soul. Two boys hand him back his mask. It's the most hopeful exposure on this whole list, the city protecting him for once. And it lasts about 90 seconds, because Doc Ock shows up, knocks Peter out cold in front of all of them, and hauls his body straight to Harry Osborn. Harry pulls a knife, ready to finally kill Spider-Man for murdering his dad, and yanks off the mask. And it's Pete, his best friend. That one reveal lit the fuse on the entire third movie, and Harry wasn't even the only one who clocked it that night. Doc Ock. Because Otto figures it out too in that same sequence. When Peter unmasks himself trying to shut down the reactor, Octavius just stares and goes, "Peter Parker, brilliant but lazy." The guy who tried to kill him spends his dying breath knowing exactly who was under the mask and takes it to the grave. Even some of Spidey's villains end up protecting the secret, which tells you something important before we get to the ugly ones. Exposure doesn't always mean betrayal. The ones who earned it, and the people closest to him prove it. Not every reveal is a disaster. Aunt May's is just brutal. In the comics, after a vicious fight with the vampire Morlun, a half-dead Peter drags himself home, throws his shredded costume on the floor and collapses into bed. He forgets to call May. She lets herself in to check on her nephew and finds the Spider-Man suit lying on his bedroom floor right next to him. No big speech. Just a torn red costume and the truth sitting on the carpet. These are the reveals that actually go okay, because they're built on love instead of leverage. Hold on to that, because the next one goes the complete opposite direction. And it's the one Peter does to himself. Civil War 2006. This is the big one in the comics, the moment that breaks the #1 rule on the largest possible scale. The government passes the Superhuman Registration Act, every hero has to register, and Tony Stark talks Peter into being the poster boy. So Peter Parker walks up to a podium in front of every news camera on Earth, pulls off the mask, and reveals the identity he's spent his whole life hiding. No mind control, no villain forced it. He chose to do it in front of an audience of millions, and the fallout is instant. J. Jonah Jameson, the man who paid Peter for photos for years while running smear campaigns against Spider-Man, watches his own photographer admit he was the menace this whole time and literally collapses on the spot. But Jonah isn't the disaster. The disaster is that now every enemy Peter ever made knows exactly where Aunt May lives. The Kingpin puts out the order. A sniper takes the shot. The bullet meant for Peter hits May instead, and she's left dying in a hospital bed, all because the whole world now knows the wall crawler's name. One press conference, and the woman who raised him is on life support, and saving her meant doing something no hero should ever do. One more day. Because how do you undo the entire world knowing your identity? Normally, you can't, which is why One More Day is still so infamous fans argue about it 20 years later. With May bleeding out and no fix anywhere, Peter gets desperate enough to do the unthinkable. He makes a deal with Mephisto, Marvel's actual devil, and Mephisto's price isn't Peter's soul, it's crueler than that. He wants Peter's marriage. He wants to erase Peter and Mary Jane's entire life together like it never happened. In exchange, May lives, and reality gets rewritten so the world forgets Spider-Man is Peter Parker. The press conference, the unmasking, all of it. Gone. Peter says yes. He trades the love of his life to put the secret back in the box. That's the comic's nuclear option. A demon literally editing the universe. And if you think that's the most painful way this story has ever been told, the movies were about to take the exact same fix and twist the knife even harder. Far From Home. Because the MCU's Peter, Tom Holland, gets the cruelest reveal of all, and it isn't even true. Mysterio spends a whole movie playing hero while framing Spider-Man as the villain. And right before he dies, he records a deepfake that makes it look like Spider-Man murdered him and leveled half of London. Then comes the mid-credits scene that made theaters scream in 2019. The Daily Bugle, now a conspiracy rage channel, plays the footage. And J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons, the same guy from the Raimi films, drops the final payload, Mysterio's last act of revenge. He names him. The video tells the entire world that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Cut to Peter frozen in Times Square as his face hits every screen, mouthing "Oh no" and smashed to black. This wasn't a choice like Civil War. A dead man reached out from beyond the grave and detonated his life as a parting gift. And this Peter is a teenager. He didn't sign a registration act, he just wanted to survive a school trip. And the very next movie shows you what that detonation actually costs. No Way Home. Because No Way Home opens the exact second the world knows. And it's hell. Peter, MJ, Ned, all of them get mobbed. The authorities come after him. He gets blamed for a murder he didn't commit. His friends get rejected from college just for knowing him. The thing Peter feared his whole life finally happened. And it poisons everything it touches. So Peter goes to Doctor Strange and asks for the comic book solution, the magic delete button. Strange agrees to cast a spell making the whole world forget Spider-Man is Peter Parker. But Peter keeps interrupting mid-spell, trying to carve out exceptions, let MJ remember, let Ned, let May, let Happy. He keeps changing the terms while Strange is still casting, and the spell warps and goes wrong. And the cost lands even harder than the demon deal. The only version that works is the total one. Everyone forgets Peter Parker existed at all. Not just that he's Spider-Man. Him. The whole person. His best friend won't know him. The girl he loves won't know him.